If you've been gardening for a while, you already know that manure is often treated like the holy grail of soil fertility. Everyone says it's the gold standard for building rich, productive beds. But here's the truth. I stopped using manure a while back, and my fall garden didn't just survive, it exploded with growth. We're talking about healthier plants, stronger roots, and yield so heavy I had to reinforce my trellises. And the best part? I didn't need to deal with the hassle, smell, or risk of pathogens that come with manure. Today, I'm going to share the exact fall soil hack I use instead, the one that yields results at least 100 times better than any bag of manure I've ever hauled. Stick around, because once you understand how this works, you'll never look at fall soil prep the same way again. The key is feeding the soil without relying on animal waste. What I discovered is that manure isn't the only way to give your soil fertility. In fact, it's not even the best way. The real magic comes from focusing on the soil food web, the living community of fungi, bacteria, and earthworms that do the heavy lifting underground. Instead of dumping in manure, I started feeding the soil with what it truly craves: carbon-rich organic matter. In fall, this is easier to come by than at any other time of year. Fallen leaves, spent garden plants, cover crops, and kitchen scraps can be transformed into a powerful layer of nutrition that breaks down slowly, right where your roots will need it next spring. By leaning into natural decomposition cycles, you mimic what forests do on their own, without importing manure from somewhere else. Leaves are the unsung heroes of fall soil building. Every autumn, most people bag up leaves and set them out as trash. Gardeners in the know do the opposite. Leaves are packed with trace minerals pulled from deep in the tree's root system, and when you shred them and layer them into your beds, they become one of the most balanced soil conditioners you'll ever find. Unlike manure, which can burn plants if it's too fresh, shredded leaves break down gently, feeding fungi that knit your soil into a stable, sponge-like structure. This fungal network is what gives you the massive harvest boost. Roots can explore deeper, water retention improves, and nutrient cycling happens automatically. By spring, your soil feels alive and ready to explode with growth. Of course, leaves and carbon-rich material are just half the story. Plants also need nitrogen, and this is where fall cover crops come in. Instead of hauling manure, I sow quick-growing legumes like clover, vetch, or field peas. These crops pull nitrogen directly from the atmosphere and store it in the soil. By spring, you can chop and drop them right in place, creating a nutrient-rich mulch layer that balances the carbon from your leaves. This combination is the real secret to yields that outpace manure-fed gardens. You're building fertility directly on site, no hauling or composting piles required. The method I use is simple but powerful. First, I clear out my summer beds but leave the roots of annual plants in place. Those roots decompose underground, creating channels for water and air. On top of that, I spread a thick layer of shredded leaves, followed by a scattering of green material like grass clippings or spent vegetable plants. Then I overseed with cover crops. Finally, I cap the whole thing with a thin layer of finished compost, not manure, just compost, to inoculate the bed with beneficial microbes. Over winter, the freeze-thaw cycle, the rain, and the soil life work together to break everything down. By spring, the bed is fluffy, fertile, and ready to plant. It feels like cheating because of how little effort it takes compared to hauling and turning manure. Once I made this switch, I noticed an immediate difference in plant health. Tomatoes set more fruit, root crops grew straighter and heavier, and leafy greens lasted longer before bolting. Beyond yield, the soil itself became darker, looser, and easier to work with. It no longer crusted over after rain or compacted under my boots. What I had created was a living system, not just a bed fertilized for one season. That's the beauty of ditching manure. This method compounds in benefits year after year. So if you've been struggling with mediocre harvests, or you're tired of dealing with the mess of manure, give this fall soil hack a try. Build with leaves, balance with cover crops, and let nature do the heavy lifting. By spring, you'll see why I say the results are 100 times better than manure. And before you head back out to your own garden, don't forget to subscribe to Botanical Bliss for more tested, practical gardening strategies that will keep your soil thriving. Share this with a fellow gardener who still thinks manure is the only way. Let's spread the word that fall soil building can be smarter, cleaner, and more productive than ever.